Mr. Tanner. Yogurt. Thank you, Maya and HD. We appreciate you. Hey, good to see you. Hey, Chris. Come on in. Hey, Mary.
Oh, I see some of my people. Yay.
Good morning. Thanks for coming. Grab your coffee and your bagel.
Hi, good morning.
Sponsored by Maya and HD.
I have my car here. Hi, Miss Jill. How are you doing? I'm great too. Thank you. We got the memo. We just got to send it to you that we're wearing black and white. You know, it's a management thing. I've seen.
It's time to start. You guys ready for the first dance?
I'm trying to remember. She wore black and white
You ignore me. You
cool.
think I'm kidding.
When we came
Carol, are
in.
you ready? She's ready to dance. Let's do it.
No. Thank you.
Carol's like, I have the energy, but I'm not dancing. I'll teach you the dance later. Hey, you guys, so good to see you. We're going to get started right on time. We're getting started.
It's on.
It's on. And we have people on our Zoom. We have 10 attendees. So, Adam, we do have a full house, but we're just doing it right there. Grab your bagels and your coffees. And I have a short, I do have something to share. I'm laughing because I have a family group text. And how many of you have a family group text, right? It can be annoying right now, exactly, as I was coming to work. So my parents are getting there in age, and they have now recently decided to leave San Diego County and come to beautiful Temecula. So they are only 6 minutes away from me. Yay! So I get the often text, how's Vito? Because there's no young grandchildren anymore, just the dog. Well, the dog is fine, Mom. Well, it's thundering. I'm like, he's good. And she's like, well, do you need me to come over? I go, so this morning we get a group text that says, hey, pray for Dad. Dad's going in for surgery. I know this sounds like it's going to be a bummer, but it's a simple surgery for his eye. But they're very funny about the whole COVID. I mean, the COVID. So she said, Dad had to get text. This is a group text. Dad had to get tested. I'm going to laugh as I say this. She said, I think it's the weirdest thing because they swabbed his mouth and then used the same Q-tip and checked his ear. And so I'm like, where did you get this done? Hospital not to be named because I'm not going to do that. And so we're like, gross, that's wrong. And she's asking us how we've all done it and how it's been done. And I am cracking up in my car because I can just see my little Mexican dad sitting there going, what? You know, what's he doing? And so my son says, well, at least, Grandpa, they didn't go from your mouth to your nose or from your nose to your mouth. And everybody on group text is gross. I'm crying. Like, I can't even get past the stoplight. And the funniest thing is because I had told my introvert son, like, hey, be intentional about making laughter happen. So I text him, I go, dude, you totally did it. I'm totally cracking up. So I'm sharing this, that there's so many things in life that's happening around us to really enjoy every moment. As much as that group text of my family drives me nuts because my mom she abuses it, I'm just saying. She knows now she has a captive audience. However, I'm thankful that I have my mom that's still texting. I'm grateful that my dad is healthy. I have a whole family that's at the end of that cracking up, and my kids get to enjoy that exposure. So it's a lot of fun. So it's important to make sure that you get a good laugh in. So hopefully you can think of that. I asked one person to stand up and share a quote that is on his mind or has been something that's good. I'm going to give you the mic because I want it to sound very inspirational.
Really loud.
Yeah. Louder. Yes.
My quote for the week is one of my favorites, and I was dealing with buyers who were ghosting me. This quote came up again, which is, hope is not a strategy.
Oh, and I love how we got the lingo down, ghosting me. Like, dude, you're cool. I heard that and I really thought ghost. I'm like, what do you mean? Is this a spiritual moment here or not? Okay, thank you so much. We're gonna get started. We have the infamous, the one and only Adam Ruiz, who serves as our government board official. And I thank you so much for taking time to do this for us, because I've actually asked for private classes. Because, oh, yes, 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 yes. Okay, very good. Thank you. Joe, you're so awesome. Could you do this for me? It takes a tribe, a family, a village.
Okay. Hey, good morning, everyone. And, thanks for coming out. We've got a whole bunch of folks on Zoom this morning. So I think we've got about 30 people almost on Zoom, so that's great. So, again, thanks for coming out and thanks for joining us this morning. Quick public service announcement. I did not text you this morning. So if you got that text again this morning, a lot of those scam texts going around. So don't respond. It's from a 607 area code. That's not here. This time they even texted me and asked me to call myself. So I know it's out there. No, quick public service announcement. Watch for those messages coming out. Lots of crime going on. Anyway, we're going to go really quickly, and I'm just so excited to hear from Adam. But before we do, our breakfast sponsors from MyNHD, one of our in-house family affiliates of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. MyNHD, we've got John Sharp on the line here in the back representing. Good morning, come on up. Long time. Yes, exactly. Long time friends of all of us, and we've been great supporters, but thanks for coming here this morning and bringing us breakfast and being the sunshine in the room. I'll let you say a few words.
Thank you so much, Joe. Hi, good morning, everyone. I am Molly Levine with MyNHD Natural Hazard Disclosure, and we are so happy to be a part of your world. I want to introduce the one, the only Don Sharp.
Hello, everybody.
Okay, I guess that's it. But just a quick reminder of a couple things. One, order your NHD report at the time of listing. If you have any questions about that process, my contact info is over there. You can call me, you can text me, you can Facebook message me, whatever you want, and I'll help you get there. So it's a really good idea, especially with all of the fire zones in AB 38, but that's a whole separate meeting. So thank you for your time and attention. Don, now you want to talk?
Well, I do, because I don't need to trust you. So we always started with something funny, right? I heard this on the radio this morning. I'm going to steal this, and it makes sense to me now that we're here looking at that beautiful price of $74.95, right? So one day God talked to Adam and said, Adam, I'm going to make you a companion. We're going to call her a woman. She's going to cook for you. She's going to clean. She's never going to argue with you. You're always going to be right. And Adam said, man, that is absolutely amazing, God. What is this going to cost? He goes, well, it'll only cost you an arm and a leg. Adam sat there for a second. He goes, well, what can I get for a rib? And the rest is history. We're not going to cost you an arm and a leg or even a rib. $74.95 is an amazing product and an amazing service. We love the family and we love you guys. You know that, Joe, if anybody here in the room. So thank you guys for having us.
Thank you.
All right. Without any further ado, Adam Ruiz, long history with our board of realtors here, past chair, been on the board for decades now, been a long time, but also, and really importantly right now, our government affairs director. And if you don't think politics has anything to do with real estate, I'm going to educate us this morning and let you know all the ways that politics affect real estate. So, hey, thanks and good morning, Adam. Welcome.
Can you guys hear me without this? Need it? All right, I'm gonna go back and forth then. So once again, my name is Adam Ruiz. Yeah, I'm gonna make sure I stay in there. Hello to all those out in Zoom land. I'm gonna go over a couple of things this morning, hopefully about 20-25 minutes and answer some questions for you guys. But just wanted to come out, cover two topics today. One is my monthly housing report that I do. I kind of wanted to detail that, answer any questions that you might have if you've already seen it or if you haven't seen it for the at least be able to cover that with you, and then update you on a couple of bills that we have. I was promised though that Joe McGowan was going to do a dance, and I don't know where that is coming in later in the program, maybe or something. It's get that down. Okay. And appreciate Don's story, but different Adam, just so you know, that wasn't me. So we'll start with the housing report. How many here get my monthly email or got it before when Gene was doing it, and then I've kind of taken over and kind of revised it a little bit? Nobody here? Oh, you share it. You share it. Okay. So hopefully you guys take a chance to look through that. I'm just going to kind of go over what is actually covered in there, explain some of the graphs and answer any questions that you guys may have about that. The first page is really just going to be if there's anything kind of talkative to cover for you guys, but I'm going to try to keep pretty consistent a 2-year history. Most of the report's going to cover month over month and year over year information, but I do think, especially right now, having that 2-year history to look back. So right on page 1, I'm just going to cover this paragraph, and I apologize. I normally don't like just reading straight to you guys, but these are numbers I don't want to mess up. So reports will come out typically about between the 5th and the 7th of each month. That gives everyone time to fully close out their month and update MLS. All the data that I get is from MLS, and I will cover that it is single family homes and it's resales. So the numbers and everything you see here, don't touch new construction, although I'm hoping to cover a portion of that in a future report, but it's all resales. So Riverside County in August, median price was $550,000, unchanged from last month, but up 22% a year ago when it was $449,900, and up 39% from 2 years ago when it was $395,000. So really driving that up. Quick side note for those that don't remember stats or math, median and average, there's differences there. Okay, so median is literally where we take the lowest sale and the highest sale and pick that spot right in the middle. That's what most of the economists will use, is kind of that midpoint there. Average would be if we were adding up all the sales and divided by the number of sales. So just to kind of clarify on that, medians what typically gets used in our economic reports. Unsold inventory, other than Joe and Alicia, can anyone tell me what a healthy market is considered when it comes to unsold inventory, available inventory? 6 months. Got a piece of candy, I throw it to you. I said, have a bagel. There's plenty over there. I got it. Okay. 6 months is considered healthy. I don't remember the last time we were 6 months here. We're currently sitting at about 2 months. And inventory is starting to increase just a little bit. I find it humorous when I go out and hear people saying, oh my God, the market is just slowing down. It's coming to a screeching halt and it's tanking. Oh my God, what's going on? No, that's not the case. We actually had an economist present at a chamber event a couple of months ago, and I referenced it in here. I thought it was a fantastic quote. And he basically said a slowing market is not a crashing market, right? I mean, ask an agent right now, right? Do you guys consider the market slow? It's probably slower than it was a couple of months ago, but I wouldn't consider this a slow market. And inventory obviously has a big part to do with that. Let's see here. One other stat on the front page here. And then unit sales, and this is kind of what people are looking at. Unit sales were down 5% from previous month and 3% last year. That inventory does continue to increase. Percentage-wise sounds huge, 24% from last month and 42% from last year. But again, nowhere near where we really need to be from an inventory standpoint. There's legislation to kind of cross over, and we'll talk a little bit about that, that's trying to help create opportunities for more inventory, but how that's really going to plan out, I don't know. I'm hoping to have in this next month's report, there's a couple cities that I'm waiting to hear back from, but because like I mentioned, this only does cover resale, our areas, primarily Menifee and Lake Elsinore, particularly Menifee and Lake Elsinore, have a lot of building going on. Heaven as well. There's a lot of construction coming on. So I've reached out to those cities just to give me some numbers if they can, how many permits have been pulled, how many houses they might have on the books. Each city is reporting that a little bit differently, but as soon as I can get that information and digest it out, if I can do it by next week, it'll be in my next report. Otherwise, it will be in the following report. But know that there's a lot of, there is some inventory out here that will be coming forward. On the next page of the report, if you guys are following along, this is really more, the cities really tend to enjoy this. So I guess I should back up a little bit too. Who gets report? No, one more page before that, Alicia. At the top of it, it says August 2021 single family residence transactional value. So I've got a couple of lists that this go out to. A lot of realtor members, I'm trying to provide as much information to our realtor membership as we can, but this also goes out to all of our local cities, city managers, economic development departments, chambers, and our elected officials. So a lot of them will reference this from a particular point in time. And with the transactional value just means what's the volume of property sold. very simply, what's going on in their particular city, how much volume is being sold. Underneath that is probably the one that gets referenced or quoted at least the most from our cities, and that's your year-over-year median price adjustment. We'll break these down by the 9 cities alphabetically, but I'll show 2020 median price in August versus 2021, and then the difference in a percentage. Right now it's all up. I think if I remember correctly, it was 22 to 30. No, they have 30.8 was kind of the range for this particular one of median price year over year. Moving on to the next page, this would be those same 9 cities again are kind of what gets referenced here. But how many sales, how many homes were sold this month, last month versus a year ago in that comparison? Again, the median home price, how many units were unsold or available inventory, months of inventory, and time on market. We've really seen that kind of been moving along, and we'll track that out for everybody as well. The average home report will then compare the median price and that average price. Remember the 2 different calculations for that, which shows kind of the difference there. What the average square foot in that area was, how many beds, bath, and year built. And then I just added last month the average price per square foot. So this is provided by CRMLS as well. If you try to do the math, it won't pan out. I've tried. So don't, if you're a numbers person, try to calculate and say, hey, something's not adding up here. I tried to manually do it before and it wasn't available, but it just kind of gives you an idea of, you know, what areas there are. Walter Wilson, if you guys know Walter Wilson, he's our other government affairs director, covers the Hemet San Jacinto area. We were talking about this the other day, and you know, a lot of people get stuck just on that price, the sales price. But if you look at the price per foot, it does sometimes paint a different picture, or it can paint a different picture. May or may not be a sales tool for you, but it's just to give you a little bit of an idea of what that market looks like for that particular city. And then the next 3 slides are just graphs broken down a little bit geographically, and it just shows the number of sales per city, and then their change from the previous 2 years. So just to get an idea, if you guys follow the association's social media account, you'll usually see kind of the update. What do we call it, Alicia? Did you know? Did you know how many transactions were sold this particular week versus last? This just kind of does a month over month to give everybody an idea on trends or how things might be moving along. And again, that's kind of covered a little bit geographically on each of those graphs. I've really tried to make this as simple but informative as I can. Gene's report was a phenomenal report, and Gene had, I don't know, I'm gonna guess a dozen or more years of data in there, but those charts then sometimes became just a lot to look at and try to decipher through. So some of the feedback I got, it was, we want to try to keep it simple, make sure it's useful information that you guys have. I also did just add in this August edition, Winchester, which will cover French Valley, specifically 92596, because it's just how it's coded in MLS. But that information will also be shown in this report as well. If there's anything additional, this one I threw in a couple of slides from that economic update. Sometimes I'll get some slides from our CAR economists or NAR economists. We've got an update next week, I think, in Anaheim, and then the local YPN here is bringing an update as well later in the month. So you might see some of those slides referenced out in here. But try to keep it short, sweet, direct information out to you. If you do not get this report and you want it, you can either give your card to Alicia, signing you up right now, Alicia, for that, or just shoot me an email, adam@srcar.org, and I'll make sure that you get added onto that list. So quick overview. Is there questions? I saw hand go up. Yes, sir.
Are we allowed to take this and edit it and actually publish it anywhere on social media or no?
I'll check here if there's anything, but I don't see why not. I mean, it's all public information anyway. So I don't see why not. I've just done the work to make it concise for you, but I don't think that'd be a problem. Yeah. Any other questions on that? Alicia?
I asked you this question before, and I'm gonna ask again, just in case anybody has the same one. When we do this, the average square foot percentage, like when we do the price per foot, what's the, I've been told we don't use that because we're not fully built out yet. So you gave a really good explanation as to where that could be part of a big sales analogy.
Yeah, so price per square foot, I mean, a lot of times we'll see that reference within a city or even a specific neighborhood. You know, so you've got similar houses, but they're not the exact model match, just square footage is a little bit off. Can be a little tricky when you look at single story versus 2-story, because those square foot prices will be different. But you might sit here and go, hey, well, this one's priced at X amount of sales price, but price per foot, it's actually cheaper than the other one, and a little bit more square footage for your value. And that's kind of what we're looking at when we're trying to break down, specifically even within those cities. That's where the conversation came up with Walter. He actually said, oh, I would have guessed that Hemet was the best area to buy, but based on this report, there's actually more bargain for your buck than one of these other surrounding areas. So again, you can make it a tool or make it not a tool. It's more just kind of information. I don't know that it would apply to every single offer that you're making. I mean, it is published in the MLS, but it's more to give you a general idea of, okay, what are things kind of selling? And for me, having it historically now, we'll be able to kind of gauge back and know, okay, here's kind of where we're trending. You know, prices should follow, but that price per square foot can really make a difference. Oh.
Yeah, no, it does. And I just know that some of the agents will get asked, and they go, well, this house square, the price per square foot is so expensive. But you look at the whole price and the comparativeness. And so I think it's good to know that you have at least a history of where it's tracking to.
Any other questions on the report? How about from Zoom? Zoom okay?
We're good.
Zoom is good? Okay. And again, if you leave your card with Alicia, if you want to get it direct, otherwise, if you guys are circulating it, who's ever doing that for your office, thank you very much for getting that information out, because I do think it's very helpful, number one, but it also starts really setting market trends. I mean, as realtors, you're the market expert or the leader in that area. The more information you have and you can back it up with actual numbers, the better your offer will be. So let me jump over into a couple of fun, maybe not so fun, depending on your take on it. Some of the bills that we looked at. Besides Joe, how many other political hacks are in there? Just so I know my audience. One, how many know a little bit about politics, but not so much? And how many really just don't care?
Oh, no. Yeah.
You can raise your hand. A lot of people just don't care. It's okay. I'm gonna tell you you're wrong, but it's okay. There's a quote, we use this in our orientation. Gene used to say this all the time. Just because you don't take an interest in politics doesn't mean politics doesn't take an interest in you. Right? I mean, that's flat out probably one of the best political quotes that's out there. My job as government affairs director is really to track the legislation, working with both CAR and NAR and our local electeds to make sure that business that's being pushed forward doesn't have a negative impact on your business. And that's really what we're looking at. Doesn't matter if it's Republican, doesn't matter if it's Democrat, doesn't matter if it's independent. You may have heard this or not, but it's called the Realtor Party. That's kind of how everything is governed. What's the impact on real estate? There are things sometimes that come down from NAR or CAR that don't necessarily align with our local area, and we address that as needed. But typically we're looking at everything from what impact is this going to have on housing, or what impact is this going to have on the real estate business? And then that's how we advocate on your behalf to either get support for something, oppose something, encourage modifications, which there's been some of that done in some of these recent bills, and then get that information out and trying to track it back out to you and then to our local cities. Okay, so I'll run through a couple of these real quick. I think you guys have that handout as well. I'm gonna skip the first one because that was COVID Tennessee stuff, and there's another bill that's on there. So let me back up real quick. Actually, if you guys have this, you will know. 2,693 bills were introduced this legislative session, this year, not a session, this year. Okay, that's 2,693 opportunities to influence your life in a better or worse way than it was last year. Anyone feel we need that much? It's a lot. Okay, some of the bills died in committee or didn't make it all the way through. Some, a couple here on this list, you'll see we're moving into what's called a 2-year bill, where they're just saying, okay, we're gonna kind of put this on hold, continue moving forward to next year. Those that did make it through, you'll see on here, will either say presented to the governor or to engrossing and enrolling. That means it was sent to the governor's desk. When a bill passes through our legislature and goes to the governor's desk, he has 3 options. Okay, he can sign it, adopt it into law, that puts his name on the bill, then it becomes law. He can veto it. So even though it's passed our legislature, he can veto it, say this is no good, we're not going to take part in this, or he can ignore it. If he ignores it, yes, within 30 days, that becomes law anyway. Okay, so if he does not want his name to be part of the bill, or doesn't want to sign on for, whatever it might be, probably lobbying, probably something to do with, some of the groups that were for or against the bill, he can withhold his name and then it can still become law. It still automatically will become law anyway. And he can also, because of our supermajority that we have in our state right now, he can also create a law that can be vetoed back out from the legislature. So it's kind of interesting how all that stuff goes on. So some of the bills in here have not yet been signed. I did get an update this morning. 27 housing related bills were just signed yesterday. So we'll be deciphering through all of that today. But just to cover a couple of these on here real quick for you guys. AB 44, which became AB 830. This should be a no issue bill. This basically allows licensees to continue with their prior surname if they get married or change their last name with their business. So you've got a realtor who's been marketing for a few years as Mrs. Smith, then gets married to Mrs. Jones, does not want to lose that marketing and that name recognition for Smith. This would allow them, as long as it's a legal name change, that they can continue operating under that legally through the DRE. Pretty simple, no opposition. That is sitting on the desk right now. There is another one, AB 491. So this has to do with access in a multifamily area. So anything newly constructed after January 1st, 2022 would have to provide equal access for access points and amenities to low-income properties within that unit, the same as market rate. So you can't say that market rate can use a pool, but low income, you don't have access to the pool, or the low income, units have to access through the back gate and everybody else is coming through the front gate. They're just making it where everyone has equal access to the property. That one's also sitting on the governor's desk right now. AB 571, I would love to see this go even further, but this does limit some of the fees for affordable units. So a lot of the conversation this year in our legislature has been on housing affordability and density. Okay, California as a whole is pretty built out, and we're seeing some of that here. And they're trying to figure out, okay, how do we incentivize more people? Right, my two political hacks probably agree with this as well. But cities don't build properties. Government does not build properties. Everyone kind of wants to go that route and say, what are you doing? What are you doing? Well, they don't, right? So they have to make proper zoning and maybe attract builders to come out, but things still have to pencil and make sense for everybody. So density is becoming one of these things that's being thrown out, and there's incentives that if you're going to build multiple units and you allot for a certain percentage of that or dedicate a certain percentage of that to be affordable housing, then you get discounts on fees and other incentives associated with that. That's kind of some of the legislation that's being pushed through to try to encourage that. And that's what AB 571 is. Big one for us, the implementation of the Uniform Partition of Heirs Property Act. Mouthful there. This basically preserves family wealth passed on to the next generation in the form of real estate, when there's no will or trust or title method transferring property at the time of the owner's death. It's something that's common in 18 other states. California just kind of said this is something that we need to do. And it's actually a good thing for them moving forward on that. Eviction moratorium, we'll touch on that here in a second. That one's going nowhere. That one's going nowhere. SB 9, I want to talk about it. And implicit bias trading. So every real estate licensee, not just realtors, this is a DRE implementation, will have to take implicit bias trading. I don't remember if it was annual or at their renewal, but it will be added in. We've asked the question, I've asked the question, is that going to be in addition to your 45 hours, or are they going to increase that? Nobody knows the clear answer on that. And unfortunately, the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of legislation get passed with the mentality of pass it, then we'll figure it out later and address it in a future bill. We've seen that happen a lot with AB 5, which was the independent contractor. There's been a lot on that. Proposition 19, which is the portability of your property tax base. Same thing's going on with that as well. They're trying to get more clean language for that. But that will most likely become effective January 1st. To your bill, I will make a note of this. There's been pushed, and actually been sponsored by CAR to increase the amount of work that a handyman, an unlicensed handyman, can do at a property. It's currently at $500. They've been trying to push that up to $1,000. A lot of resistance from general contractors on that. They prefer to have the business, but again, if you had to go to a general contractor for everything, now that's labor and materials. Okay, a couple months ago, you could spend that on lumber alone in a quick deal, and it's aggregate. So obviously the general contractors would like to get that, their hands on all of that work. But what would that do to your transactions? I mean, it would be ridiculous. So we'll continue pushing for that. We've been doing that for the last couple of years. That was introduced, but it'll be reintroduced as a 2-year bill next year. When you guys can read this, HOA has to deliver stuff electronically. No big deal. SB 539, that's some of the cleanup bill. Is everyone aware of Prop 19? I guess I should ask that real quick. Joe, you good? Yeah, okay. And that's kind of that. So let me go back to a couple of these bills here real quick. SB 9 is probably one of the larger, more nationally covered headline bills that we've had, especially as it relates to housing. Anybody open up social media, newspaper, anything over the last week and see headlines? California does away with single family zoning. Okay, that's SB 9. Now there are a decent amount, I should say, of limitations in the bill, and that is some of the amendments that CAR did push for. But essentially, SB 9 would allow a property to be split under certain parameters. Any property, your tract home property. Okay, so you could be currently sitting on a 1-unit single-family home, split the lot to 2, put an ADU on each property, and now you have 4 units where there's currently 1. Okay, probably the biggest, I'm going to call it a safety net for us out here because I think there's a lot of challenges with that. Again, this goes back to what I was saying. The state is really trying to increase that density. Okay, we can't build out any further, fine, then we'll just let everybody split. Okay. Probably the biggest safety net for us out here is that does not apply at all if the home is managed by an HOA. So we've got a lot of HOAs out here that kind of immediately solves problem number 1. Other caveats on that, the lot would have to be split a minimum of 60-40. Minimum square footage on the new lot would be 1,200 square feet. We've also asked the bill writer and the legislature, is that gross or net? They had no idea what that meant. They said, we'll leave it up to the city and kind of go that route. Can't be historical. It has to be owner occupied for 3 years, and you cannot do a lot split on consecutive lots. So if Alicia and I are neighbors, we both can't split our lot. If an investor owns multiple lots on a particular street, they can only split 1. So some protections that are in there. Personally, what I think a lot to be missed out on this is infrastructure. I mean, as you drive around any of our local cities, what's the first thing everyone wants to complain about? Traffic. Okay, so what happens when you have an area that was designed for a certain number of homes that's now potentially quadrupled? And that hasn't been looked at. Fire access hasn't been looked at. Some of those safety nets are in there for fire and some safety. There is some control back at the cities. I've talked with 2 of our local cities who said their attorneys are still deciphering through it all right now. There will guarantee be language to address some of the things in here, as well as some potential lawsuits, I imagine. Prop 19, going back to that one, when it was first introduced, was said to increase our transaction numbers by thousands and thousands. I don't know that it's increased by hundreds, to be honest. We're a little bit different in Riverside County because we already had Prop 60 and 90 that allowed that transferability, but there's so many limitations within it that I think the big scheme picture didn't really pan out. Personally, I see that with SB 9, at least in the big urban areas. Central California, Northern California may have some of their challenges. I talked to some friends whose communities have already zoned their stuff for 2 units, but only put 1 on. So some of that, case by case will be a little bit different. But I just kind of wanted to address some of that. It is included in here, and I actually have a much longer description. It's fairly simple. It's just long of some of the carve outs for SB 9. I'd be happy to forward that to somebody if you guys want that to be shared. Joe?
Can you compare that or talk a little bit to the legislation that came out allowing accessory dwelling units and the impact? Similar impact.
So similar, yeah. So legislation has come out for ADUs that it's a by right mandate. I mean, if somebody wants to put an ADU on their property, they can. The challenge we're hearing from local cities, and I'm working with a couple cities to get some of this addressed, is then what happens when the HOA says no. Okay, I have a state law that says I can do this, but I've got an HOA that's saying that they can't do it. And there's lawsuits pending for some of that stuff moving forward. That's actually why this goes from 1 to 4. because a lot split would indicate 2 properties, right? I got 1 splitting it, that gives me 2, but 4 becomes California has a by right ability to put on another ADU. So it is a little bit challenging. We've addressed it. The city's working with some of the HOAs. I know Temecula, quick plug for a meeting here in a couple of weeks. Temecula is working on kind of like a, for lack of a better description, cookie cutter ADU program where fees are supposed to be a lot less, timeline is supposed to be a lot less, because they understand that it's something that people are looking. Part of that program, my understanding is that they've worked with all of the HOAs within the city. They're going to be presenting that program on October 19th to a small group here, where you guys are welcome to attend that. Couple of questions, yeah, we'll go front to back.
Say you have a 10,000 square foot lot with a single family unit on it. Could you put a 3-story, 4 or 5 unit property on that property?
I don't think you can put multi-unit. There is still some height restrictions. There's still some local ordinance stuff that are.
I didn't see any verbiage in here with that, but that's why I asked that question, because you're thinking about, you know, single family area, and all of a sudden you've got a 3-story building in the backyard.
Yeah, I do know,
Aesthetic.
and that's covered, and I don't have it on here, I apologize, or maybe I do, and I get it over to Alicia. I've got a much longer thing, and I think that is covered with some of the local ordinance stuff. I know you could do you couldn't take and split and put a 4-plex on there or something like that. But there is some limitation. If I remember correctly, I want to say there was a height restriction, or at least it deferred to local ordinance on
That
that.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Strange government.
We were pushing as much as possible in discussing SB9 to leave it to the locals, right? Let the local jurisdiction, because a city has to develop a general plan for their development within the city. This changes that plan dramatically. Cities are not happy about that. If they wanted to address it properly, in my opinion, they would have encouraged the cities to have the ability to adopt something like this into their general plan and leave it up to their jurisdiction. Fortunately, that's not the way it happened. Yes, sir.
So then for out in this area, with there being so many, you know, with CR&Rs and CFDs, does that mean that parcel becomes a half or a quarter and you multiply your CFDs and CR&Rs to accommodate the fact that you may have 3 families using the schools that were otherwise only slated to use the schools with 1 family?
Great question. You know, I don't, and that might be something where the cities are talking about their stuff. I know my initial thought before anything came out, really on a much smaller scale, that was just utilities, right? It's very expensive to get more utilities out if the utilities company is going to allow you to do that. If they don't, run a tier system here, folks, right? How many people are already probably going into tier 3 or tier 4 sometimes on electric and water, where you throw something else on there? That's already has to be addressed with even just a simple ADU. So great question. I'm sure the cities will have an issue with that as well, because I mean, it would make sense. I mean, for them to do that if it's allowed.
That's why I think, parcels that will become 0.25, 0.5, 0.75, you'll start to have these parcels, you know, dissected.
Yeah. In the back?
Yeah, just last week, Menifee came out in their newsletter that they're gonna be offering starting in 2022. Basically, like they're saying, cookie cutter plans, and they're gonna range from various different sizes. And it's supposed to be less time spent in plan check, and then also lower fees if you go with their cookie cutter plans. So my question is this, that as an agent, I do get a lot of inquiries from prospective clients who are looking for multi-gen type homes, or now they're going to be asking for to be seeing properties that have the potential to have an ADU on there. So in my due diligence, as an agent, what resources could be made available to me so that I am passing on factual and good information to my clients, my buyers, or my sellers? You know, what is going to be available to us, and how can we get that?
So great question. Murrieta already has a designated portion on their website specific to ADUs and the requirements, lot sizes, and their regulations on it. As Temecula rolls their out, I didn't know Menifee was already ready to roll those. I heard that they were. As this stuff comes out, I'll make sure that it's part of my report, even that we start getting getting that out, because everything has to do with still your setbacks and your square footage. And I mean, side note on square footage, we're even seeing some new development. Anyone been out to Summers Bend yet? Okay, a lot of really great property out there, but lot sizes are pretty small. I mean, they're really targeting a particular demographic over there. I think I just saw some stuff going on in 5,000 square foot lots and 2,600 square foot homes. I mean, they're so that's not an area you're gonna get an ADU, something like that. You know, but we'll try to make as much stuff available. As I get more, I'll include that stuff in our report. We do cover that in our legislative committee here, which you guys are welcome to attend. And then from time to time, I get stuff out to the directors, so we'll make sure that Alicia gets that out to you guys as well. Joe?
It's a quick comment on that, specifically Summers Bend. That was not their original plan. If you look at the original developments, it was much larger lots and different plan. And every time you see those community hearing signs going up, there's something going on. And several of those community hearings for Summers Bend was reducing the rear setbacks, reducing the lot sizes, changing the concept of the plan once it was originally approved, and no one came to object, so they got passed through.
Yeah, Joe, you're hired. Step up and talk. I mean, because we need to hear. I mean, full disclosure, I'm a planning commissioner for City of Temecula. I just got put on planning commission a couple of months ago. So I hold those hearings and we look out in the audience. You know who's in the audience? Developer, the builder, to answer any questions. And you know, if there's no input to be shared, everyone just kind of assumes kind of where things are going. Summers Bend has definitely been interesting. I mean, they were going to put their own elementary and middle school. That's been taken out for high density townhome areas. Lot sizes have been smaller, although the last portion over there will be half acre and acre style lots, but the whole development has changed a ton over there. Alicia?
So if I could just add, like, this information we provide you and then we get through our board and through our managers is valuable because the world of real estate is changing and you have to change with it. And I actually encourage you to be on top of it, right? Because people are saying, oh, real estate agents are going to get pushed out. They're going to use, everything's going to be automatic. It's going to be paid employees. And the reality is this, you have this information. So when you are talking to your clients, you're able to say, hey, so here's the benefit. This is what the city's doing. I am in contact with the government affairs person for our realtor party. So we take your investment seriously. You're not accidentally licensed. You should be empowered to take your job so seriously that you are really highlighting these letters and trying to find that data and posting it to your social media and making people realize you're the expert. So I'm so grateful, and Adam's been gracious to me because this has been a little gibberish and boring talk for me until being empowered with, you know, an office and agents and hungry little birdies going, tell me. I'm like, I'm a hunter. I'm not really sure all the part of it, right? Because I like to sell homes. Who doesn't? But the reality is that be empowered, get this knowledge. And then the other thing I wanted to say, so I did my spiel. There is a question. The ADU, right? In Temecula. So I've heard of it, because I've worked in wine countries and it's Riverside County, it's completely different. So I go, let me just pop in my address. I popped in my address in the ADU in place, and it says on my lot size, I can have an ADU in my backyard that's 890 square foot. So it didn't have a minimum. It didn't say 1,200. It said 890.
Well, so the 1,200 is for a lot split, not an ADU.
Okay,
So anybody right now can put an ADU on their property. SB 9 would say, hey, Alicia, you can take your lot and split it, build another single family, and then potentially throw 2 additional ADUs on top of that.
There is the little thing, I thought it was interesting, but thank you.
And even with the ADUs, the HOAs can't go against that. That's like a ghost policy. They're still able to put an ADU no matter what the HOA says.
Correct. I mean, it's state law, and a lot of HOAs don't know that, or they're trying to, you know, stiff arm the residents about that. And that's where I think the cities that are coming up with these plans, I'll have to check with Menifee, so thanks for sharing that. The intent is that they're working with the HOAs to make them aware, hey, you don't have a say-so in this, but we're coming up with something that hopefully, you know, fits that. I mean, it's everything. It's kind of the elevation, how everything looks for the ADU. That's kind of the intent with that. A couple things, and then I do have to run. I've got another meeting to jump on. Couple things that Alicia said that I want to go back to now. I'm trying to remember which you were. Oh, let me go back to yours first. Anytime you guys have questions, you guys can call. Okay, if there's something going on or you're unaware of, call. I don't know, you know, I'll try to get the answer for you. City is obviously a great resource. We've got relationships with all of them. That's part of our job, is working and building those relationships. I've got a few cards on me. I think I might have some in the front too. I'll try to leave some. But if you guys have a question about something, feel free to give me a call, number one. Number two, I'll ask everyone to consider $20. Okay, I will say this right now. How many people here invest in a real traction fund? No, you two, three, yeah. Okay, the real traction fund, you guys see it on your dues, you uncheck it, but it's optional. You uncheck it probably every single year when you pay your dues. I'm just gonna give a quick plug for this. The real traction fund allows us to then fight battles and get the right people elected. Is a bottom line elevator pitch on what that allows us to do. Okay? If there's issues coming up that we need to go back and fight, those are expensive. They're crazy expensive. In fact, the call that I'm supposed to be on right now, I guarantee you someone's going to be talking about how they had to spend $100,000, $200,000 to fight something. We try to cut that off at the source by getting the right people elected. We want real estate friendly people elected. Again, this is the realtor party. I've heard that as a big reason why people don't choose to invest because, oh, we only support this candidate or this candidate. Okay, here locally, for anyone, and next year's another election year, we have a questionnaire that we're just going to ask their stance on some real estate issues. How do they feel about Prop 13? How do they feel about, moratoriums on building? And we interview these people that say, okay, these are the people that we want to support. We fight for you every day. We ask if everyone just pitches in $20, okay, for the year. Pretty simple ask. You can do that at any time, but that really does help go a long way for us. You can go obviously at a higher level if you feel so inclined to do so, but I would just encourage you, double check, don't uncheck that $20 box. We need all the help we can get. Finances really help with that. Sorry, Joe, go ahead.
Let me just add a couple plugs to that. First of all, the Real Traction Fund is not a partisan effort. So it's not supporting one party or another. I'm very clearly defined that. We're looking for people that are real estate friendly and understand real estate, the value and the importance of real estate. So it doesn't matter what party they're a part of. It's really about making sure that real estate is considered properly. The other part of it is every time you go out there and you do business and you realize that you do not have to go pay for a business license, call and thank that. Call and thank our government affairs directors that are educating our cities on the reality of real estate, because there are cities throughout Orange County where every agent has to have a business license for every city they do business in. And those are the kind of things that are lobbied for locally within our cities, but also just bringing the education to us and from us to our legislators, whether they be city, county, state, etc. So this is a really important effort. And I always, every year as we're coming into time to pay dues, I'm encouraging people really consider the fact that we really have an obligation to pay into and participate in the process that allows us not only to do business, but it really is one of the only trade organizations that takes our members' money and uses it to fight for the rights and the benefit of our clients and the consumer. So it's a tremendous effort. Consider when you pay your dues this year. Don't completely uncheck the box, put something in there.
Thanks, Joe. Really appreciate that. Two of the things that probably hit home the most last year from a lobbying effort is for the first time ever, realtors were eligible for unemployment insurance during the pandemic. When that happened, that was from lobbying efforts. The independent contractor status is another huge one. And then really keeping real estate essential. I mean, you guys remember when the pandemic first hit, everything shut down. And there was a fight to make sure, hey, no, this is an essential business that does need to be considered. It looked a hell of a lot different, right? But we were able to continue doing business. And those were in part to our lobbying efforts. So Joe, thanks for that plug. Last thing here real quick. Finally, eviction moratorium is coming to an end. Okay. How many property managers here? I don't want to go too crazy about property managers, but we got a couple.
Okay.
Because I feel like we've been beating this up a lot. We've been talking a lot about it, but eviction moratorium is coming to an end. It does not mean that things are going to go back to where they were pre-pandemic immediately. Okay, doors are open, but there's going to be some different rules and stuff that's put in place. If anyone is interested, CAR is doing a property management legal Zoom update tomorrow, specifically to discuss post eviction moratorium and what it's going to look like. Legislation was passed with specific instruction from October 1st through the end of March. So there will be some things put in place. It does open the door for evictions to be processed for non-payment of rent starting October 1st, but there's some other things that are checked that are going to look a little bit different. So Alicia, if it's okay, I'll forward you that same link maybe, and you can share out with everybody. If you're not aware and you are in property management and you know people that are having challenges collecting rent, there's still millions, if not billions of dollars that have been untapped of relief money. So this money goes directly to the landlord. That's another effort that we pushed out. When pandemic first hit, all the effort and relief went to the tenant. Okay? Anyone drive out to a tenant-owned property that hasn't been paying rent, you can't get in there and show it, see brand new vehicle sitting in the driveway? Good, I know I have. Okay, so part of that was changed over to say we want to make sure that we get some relief directly to the landlord. There is that information available. Won't bore you with all the details, but even though eviction moratorium is ending, that program is still in place while they do have money. Housingiskey.com is a website you can go to apply and get that information. There's some that's managed by the state. There's some areas that are managed by the county, but housingiskey.com will direct you or your clients to the appropriate place to make sure that they get their application. We know there's challenges with it. We've heard about the challenges with it, but I'm starting to hear more and more people that have said, hey, I applied, I got my checks, I've got my back rent, I've got potential future rent. It also covers rent if the tenant isn't even there anymore. Catch is it requires tenant participation. That's still the part that's a little finicky, but that's all set in place. And I'll send that information over to Alicia for that Zoom. It's tomorrow. I want to say it's at 11 o'clock tomorrow. But it's free, and if you're a property manager, I highly encourage you to do it because there's going to be some specific steps in place to be able to start moving forward those evictions. Okay. Any other questions before I go, guys? Went a little longer than expected. Hopefully I didn't bore you guys, but I appreciate the opportunity. I'll leave some cards, and anytime you guys have questions, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you.
It's good. I'm gonna have Vanessa come up. She wanted to share a couple words. Thank you, Adam, so much. I really appreciate it. I'll be quick. Good morning, Berkshire family. If I have not met you in person, I just wanted to reintroduce myself live in Zoom. I'm Vanessa Reyes, and I'm with SRCAR. I am their outreach specialist. I'm going to read to you our mission statement because sometimes we lose sight of what's really important, but SRCAR enhances the value of its members while promoting, empowering, and inspiring through its services and legislative advocacy, right? So we just have to go back into the basics. And my role is to support you in whatever way I can. And what that means is, yes, you get information here. We call you for your dues, let you know what events are happening. But how about coming to you guys and let me know what is your outreach to the local community? Whether it's a food drive, whether it's a local school that's coming up with your own kids. I gave everybody my card, but please let me know if you need it. Reach out to me by text, by email, and I will personally go out there and support you. I've been going out to open houses just to kind of continue to cheer you on, to get those listings, get those houses sold, get your spheres, continue to contact them so that you can build your empire. And lastly, I just want to congratulate each and every one of you because you continue to hit that pavement, connecting to people, and whatever challenges you have, we are here to support you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vanessa. It's true. She stops by the office. She just comes in, and it's always unexpected. I'm like, is there something? Nope, just saying hi, just checking in. So it is always nice to know that not only are you supported by your brand and by Berkshire Hathaway, the board supports you as well as equally. So if you have questions, thoughts, concerns, things that are coming up, what time is it? Okay. Oh.
Right on time.
Should we just turn on the music and party? Any questions, thoughts, anything that's coming up, anything you would like to pitch, a listing, coming soon? There's got to be some. Some of the things that, I mean, I've listened to some of your conversations. I mean, I can brag with Rosalind here. She's like, I'm showing property. I made an offer. She's got her whole weekend built out. I mean, that's energy, right? That's doing what we do. Anything. Share what you're doing. I mean, you got an escrow. Don't be shy. Fire needs.
Nobody wants to talk today.
I know they had to do work. So marketing tips, I think that Justin, I want to make sure I said your name right. Yeah, that's right. He asked the question about being able to market some of the information you got. That's great.
The only reason I mentioned that is because I'm looking at these agents in Riverside or Paris and all these different cities. And it's weird, like, I don't know, everyone always says, oh, you've been old enough to do real estate. I see like realtors on Instagram and social media that there's this one guy that pops in my mind, Art. I think it's his nickname, so I don't think I'm calling him out. But I mean, the guy, I mean, he looks like he's like 16.
Yeah.
And I see what he's closing on a daily basis. And we talk at this point, I definitely want to hear what he's doing. But I feel like I'm just seeing so many social media influencers within Riverside County in particular that are on fire with their Instagrams. And I do think, you talk about the future and change. It's a free way to market, and it's those that are using it really well seem to be doing really well with it. So I'm admirable and try to incorporate that to the business.
Very good. And that's a great point. Thank you so much. I think that if you are not utilizing that, or if you want some help, please ask your managers, ask myself, or I can give you my kids and they can help you. Just kidding. My daughter set up my account, so.
To that point, CAR offers some social media ready statistics in their market matters. And you can pull down by city, by county, and it's got graphics ready to go for Instagram, Facebook, whatever. And you can take the snapshots of some of this data that's specific to just a city that you want to promote by pulling those straight out of CAR. There's a lot of that available.
Perfect. It's true. If you want to beat this curve, if you feel like things are moving faster, you've been on the, what do you call those moving walker things, which are kind of fun, but if you're not really moving, you're going to get stumbled on it. Well, what we're trying to do is make you proactive about what that looks like. And some of the agents I've seen and talked to are multicultural. So, some of them are making flyers and things that have English and Spanish for our Spanish speaking market. We have access to get it in global different languages. Be aware of who your investors are for these properties coming out. And understanding again with the social media, get a hold of our marketing department. I've done that and just kind of said, hey, this is what it looks like right here in our world. Can you give me a pumpkin that looks like this? Or, and move that along. So that's what you need to be doing. You have to be very proactive about what's coming up. What's the newest article that you've read about that's happening? What's a topic of news that's relatable to real estate? You really have to feel like, what's the impact that's coming down, right? I can't help but think about all the, the news that they talk about when it comes to space and traveling in space. Let's talk about space. That's a great marketing material. Let's talk about space. Do you have enough at your own home? And then show, an orbit, going around. I mean, people know that these topics are happening. You have to be relevant. How we did real estate yesterday needs to improve for today. Agree? All right. Okay, guys. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, my NHC. I'm sorry. Joe, speak up. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you. He's so gracious. He's trying to making sure that I can see on cue, and I'm like, what? Yes, you can.
All right, Michelle.
Okay, real quick, I just want to invite everyone to an event that is happening in like 2 weeks. October 12th seems really far away, but it's not. So this is a fundraiser for the SRCAR Scholarship Foundation, of which I am the chair this year. And if you're not familiar with this, if you have a high school senior in your life, your child, your grandchild, this is for you. This is a $1,000 scholarship. We give away lots of them every year, and this is how we fundraise, one of many ways. So Adrienne was at the last one. It's really fun. We do it at the Craft House in South Temecula. And we have a local lady that comes in. Her name's Gloria. She's fabulous. And we are going to be making these adorable pumpkins, 3 of them, with succulents inside. So it's a succulent workshop. If you're interested, I have some flyers in the back, and space is limited, and you can attest that it is a very full room. So, yeah, if you're interested, just see me. I've got the flyers.
You're welcome. And Michelle,
I'm going to see you as well. Thank you. Do you want to say hi? I want to come and get dirty with the succulent in the shop. You know what? I want to say thank you, Joe, and to all of the management team for allowing me to be here. This is amazing to be able to see right here in front of us all of the things that are going on, because oftentimes these are silent. So it's really nice to be able to see what's going on, and actually it makes me want to move out here more and more. So thank you for allowing me to be here. And I look forward to seeing all you guys in the offices. Thank you. Have a great day. If you want to be on the list, you can pass me some cards if you want. And is there anything else? Closing? Any of the managers have something to say?
I just, when we were talking about the reports and what you can post on social media, there's a terrific report that you guys all know about.
The market report on the VAC makes a very nice social media post, and it's got charts that compares year over year. It's a great statistical document to post also. A lot of great stuff on VAC and national site that will help you with all that. And I think we should do a social media training, you guys. Do you think we should have one? Let's work on
Why
that.
don't you do it?
I know. Very good. All right. Thanks, you guys.
Bye.
Look forward to hearing and seeing from you. If you need anything, give us a call.